A snake is behaving in an unusual way. He can't believe it when he realizes that he's asking for help. Mark saw it was a beautiful day, so he decided to take a hike in the woods and have a small picnic there. While he was deep in the middle of the forest, he had an unexpected encounter. To his horror, there was a black snake a few steps ahead of him. Mark tried to back away as slowly and silently as he could, but the snake spotted him. Mark froze as they locked eyes. He wondered why a snake was there. As far as he knew, no snakes were living in the wild. This must be a pet that escaped. He was caught. Mark started to panic as the snake slithered toward him. He took a step backward and the snake noticed and sped up. Mark tried to run away but tripped, and at that moment he felt something wrap around his ankle. Mark sat up and saw that the snake had caught him, but the snake looked weak. It was only then that Mark noticed a huge bulge inside the snake's body. The snake slowly rubbed the part near the bulge on his leg as if it was showing it to him. Asking for help. Mark couldn't believe it. It was as if the snake was asking for his help, but he didn't really know what to do. He slowly pulled out his phone and looked for the nearest vet in the area. He called the office and asked for the vet to do a video call. The vet thought it was all a prank at first until he saw the snake. The vet told Mark to remain calm. Any sudden movement may cause the snake to bite him. Mark pointed out the bulge and asked the vet if he could see it. The vet agreed. The vet had to come to them. The vet asked Mark to describe the snake in detail. Mark told him it was totally black. Then he told the vet that it looked like a cobra. The vet took a moment to think. A black cobra has a very fatal bite. They needed to be smart about this. Aside from worrying for Mark, he was also concerned with the snake that needed medical attention right away. The snake kept on hissing, and it was clear that it was in pain. There was no way Mark could treat it alone. The vet had to go to the woods. Water did the trick. The vet told Mark to remain calm and that he would find a way to get there. He then had the idea to give the snake some water to help it calm down as well. Mark did as he was told. He took out the glass he brought for his picnic and offered the snake some water. The snake watched his every move, and when it saw Mark offer the glass of water, it lunged inside. After cooling down his head, the snake started to drink out of it. The trick worked, and Mark could feel the grip on his ankle loosen a bit. Now all he had to do was wait. Calling for backup. As the vet prepared a kit to take with him to the woods, he called the cops as part of the protocol that there was a venomous snake in the area. The cops were shocked to hear this since the black cobra is not usually found in their place. The cops in turn contacted Animal Control Services for help. They had to ensure that the snake would be treated and returned to where it came from. The vet called Mark and instructed him to turn on his GPS so that they could easily track his phone. Following the snake. But as Mark was waiting, the snake seemed to change. It let go of its grip on Mark's ankle and started to slither away. It looked like it was headed somewhere else. Mark was baffled. He was sure the snake needed something more than just a drink. He wasn't sure what to do. The snake was still in pain, and Mark knew the vet and cops were on their way already. A lot of efforts being done at the moment, so Mark decided to follow the snake despite the danger. The snake's nest. Fortunately, Mark had no trouble keeping up with the snake. The bulge in its stomach made it move slowly. The snake was headed for a big old tree nearby. Mark realized that the snake was leading him to its nest. The snake seemed to check on something by the roots of the tree. Mark tried to get a closer look, but the snake got all defensive again. There must be something there that the snake was protecting. It was then that he heard sirens approaching, asking him to leave. Soon the police and animal control showed up. Mark updated them about what happened. They couldn't do much about treating the snake, so they had to wait for the vet to arrive. But as they checked, it looked like the snake was no longer aggressive. While waiting for the vet, the police quarantined the area. The officer in charge approached Mark and introduced himself as Officer David. Officer David thanked Mark for everything but told him that he wasn't allowed to stay. Trying to resist. Mark was caught off guard by this. It was odd to dismiss him just like that. After all, he was the one that stayed with the snake all this time. Mark tried to resist, saying he'd like to see the situation through. Officer David told him that the snake was a very dangerous animal. No civilian should be harmed in this operation. Officer David assured him that someone will keep him informed about the snake. If Mark insists on staying, he'll have no choice but to arrest him. The snake attacks. Mark had no choice but to walk away. He'd walked a small distance when he heard shouting. Mark came running back to see what it was all about and saw that the animal control team was trying to capture the snake and the snake was fighting back. The cops tried to help and one of the officers got bitten. The cop screamed in pain as the venom entered his system. Someone from animal control quickly got anti-venom and administered it to him. Some of the cops then rushed him to the hospital. The need to retaliate. The incident angered Officer David, who decided to retaliate. He drew his gun and headed towards the snake when Mark rushed and stood in front of him. Officer David angrily tried to push him away, tell him that he was going to get arrested. Mark told Officer David that he couldn't shoot the snake because it was a protected species. Officer David could end up in jail if the snake dies. Fortunately, the vet arrived. Officer David walked away to cool his head. Sedating the snake. The vet asked Mark if he could assist him. He tried to get closer to the snake, but it was still angry from the commotion earlier. The vet used a tranquilizer dart to sedate the snake. To everyone's surprise, it didn't work at all. Then someone from animal control went through their bags. They found a sedative that was powerful enough to bring an elephant to sleep. The vet was relieved and used it on the snake again. After a few minutes, the snake was completely sedated. It needed operation immediately. The vet could finally approach and inspect the snake. The snake was so heavy that he couldn't even lift it by himself. The vet was concerned about the bulge on the snake's body. It looked like it ate something and it got stuck. The vet concluded that the black cobra needed an operation immediately. But there was a problem. He didn't have the necessary equipment to perform the operation right there. The snake had to be brought to his clinic. The snake was protecting something. Since the snake was heavy, everyone present had to help lift the snake from its nest and carry it to the largest car that they had. They had to bring the snake to the clinic before it woke up because they had no sedatives left. As they were clearing the area, Mark noticed something in the nest. The snake was lying on top of a couple eggs. Mark tried to call out to them, but they were more worried about getting the snake in the car. Clearing the road. Mark decided to pick up the eggs and place them in his bag. He thinks the snake would be calmer if it woke up and found that the eggs were with her. Also, it'd be dangerous to have a poisonous snake hatching in the woods when they weren't supposed to be. The cops escorted the vet to the clinic so that they could avoid traffic. They called reinforcements in the city on their way to help clear out the road. When they reached the city, they could see there were a lot of curious bystanders. The operation. Just when they reached the clinic, Mark noticed the snake was moving. It was about to wake up. Everyone quickly left the vehicle while the vet ran inside the clinic to get more sedatives. After being sedated again, they safely transported the snake inside. The vet started operating on the giant snake, but before he starts on the giant bulge, he noticed something else in its skin. Mark and some of the cops were watching through the window of the operating room, and one of the cops gasped, saying he recognized it. The findings. It turned out to be a microchip embedded in the snake's skin. This was actually something used by poachers. The vet told his assistant to give the chip to the cops. They could use it to determine where the black cobra came from. The vet then started to open the skin where the bulge was. It turned out to be an egg stuck in the snake's belly. The egg was still intact when the vet removed it. He quickly stitched up the cut and told everyone that the snake should be okay. The microchip gave answers. Officer David and the cop who recognized the chip took it with them to the IT professionals at their police station. The IT professionals were able to decipher it quickly. The information on the microchip was enough. The microchip led them to one of the abandoned warehouses at the docks. There they found other exotic and poisonous snakes. The cops arrested the snake smuggler who confessed that the black cobra escaped during a recent sale.